Welcome to this explainer. We are literally standing at a precipice in human history right now. A moment where the line between genuine human identity and synthetic generation is just completely disappearing. Today, we're unpacking the legal and ethical crises of AI, deepfakes, and digital plagiarism. So let's not waste any time and jump right in.
Let's kick things off by asking arguably the most urgent, visceral question we face today. If a machine generates your face and your voice, who actually owns the rights? We're not just talking about traditional copyright here. We're talking about deepfakes from a strictly ethical perspective. Imagine waking up to find a perfectly rendered video of yourself saying or doing things you never did. It's wild, right? Deepfakes represent the non-consensual cloning of human identity. Ethically speaking, this strips away our autonomy and our fundamental right to control our own likeness. It really forces us to ask, in a world where data is just scraped infinitely, who's actually protecting the digital soul of a human being?
To navigate this complex ethical critique, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the deepfake dilemma, the human authorship crisis, ethics in the digital age, defending your likeness, and finally, regulating the AI frontier.
All right, Section 1, the deepfake dilemma, our immediate visceral threat.
We're not just talking about someone, copying homework here. Digital plagiarism and deepfakes involve the unauthorized AI generation of a human likeness or third-party content. And the crucial takeaway is that this is a direct violation of human dignity, identity, and the moral rights of creators. When an AI scrapes millions of images and audio files to perfectly mimic an athlete, a public figure, or honestly just an everyday netizen without their consent, it is committing a massive ethical breach. It's a literal extraction of value from a human life without permission, and it's sparking massive right of publicity disputes all over the globe.
And that brings us to the core ethical conflict. Think about human originality for a second. It carries deep moral weight, representing human effort, lived experience, and genuine authorship. Machine generation, on the other hand, scales completely indifferently. It doesn't learn the way a human does. Rather, it's trained on massive, often stolen datasets of copyrighted material. A human creates. A generative AI system just ingests and outputs. The real ethical crisis here is that the machine is entirely dependent on the exact human originality it is currently threatening to replace.
Moving into Section 2, the human authorship crisis. It's basically legal and moral chaos right now. Now, the ethical weight of theft, not a new concept at all. Back in the 1st century, the Roman poet Martial actually coined the Latin root of the word plagiarism, which is plagiarius. And do you know what it literally translates to? A kidnapper. He used it to describe the literal kidnapping of his verses by another poet. I absolutely love this because it just perfectly frames our modern problem. When an AI company takes a writer's life's work without permission to train a large language model, they aren't just copying data. Ethically, they are kidnapping the creator's intellectual property.
So society is aggressively fighting back, right? Just look at this timeline. In 2023, the landmark Thaler versus Perlmutter case ruled that AI systems themselves completely lack authorship, meaning copyright protects only human creations. Going into 2024 and 2025, the U.S. Copyright Office doubled down, stating that without meaningful human input, AI-generated works get absolutely zero copyright protection. And because of this massive ingestion of protected data by AI platforms, copyright lawsuits skyrocketed from 30 cases in 2024 to over 70 cases by 2025. The courts are actively trying to figure out liability when these massive AI companies profit from someone else's copyrighted material.
And you've got to understand, this crisis is genuinely global. A 2025 case study from ISFIC, that's the Higher Institute of Training, Research and Science over in Mozambique, exposes these deep institutional vulnerabilities to digital plagiarism in higher education. It really shows us that whether it's stealing a face for a deep fake or stealing research for an essay, the underlying ethical emergency, which is a total lack of respect for human intellectual property, is identical worldwide. The democratization of internet access has just skyrocketed the ease of simply copying, pasting, and generating content, creating a worldwide educational and ethical emergency.
Section 3, Ethics in the Digital Age, focusing on market harm and patch writing.
Courts are actively grappling with a pretty terrifying reality right now, highlighted in cases like Cadre versus Meta, and it's called market harm. See, unlike human learning, which is obviously inherently limited in its scale, AI systems can generate vast, endless volumes of content, and this content directly competes with and effectively replaces the original human authors. If an AI can generate a perfect image in the style of a working illustrator or write an article in the voice of a specific journalist, it strips them of their commercial value entirely. The absolute ethical failure here is that the machine is using the creator's own hard work to effectively put them out of business.
So, how exactly do we fight back against this? Well, educators and journalists are increasingly relying on sophisticated detectors to combat unauthorized generation and what we call patch writing, which is where an AI just heavily mimics existing works. You have tools like GPT-0 for nuanced, mixed human-AI content. Turnitin leverages its massive academic database, and Winston AI is a premium service boasting 99.98% accuracy. But here is the ethical catch you need to remember. They aren't flawless. We have to use these tools ethically as well, not as absolute proof to punish someone, but as a starting point to ensure the integrity of the writing and the creative process.
That leads us right into Section 4, defending your digital likeness and taking back control.
If you want to protect yourself from this sort of digital kidnapping in 2025, you have to be incredibly proactive. First, document your human input. Keep meticulous records showing where your human creativity comes in, because the law demands proof of it. Second, secure trademarks. While AI-generated logos might not get copyright, they can often be trademarked. Third, use strong contracts. If you are an athlete or any kind of creator, your contracts absolutely must strictly restrict the unauthorized AI use of your image or voice. And finally, act fast on infringement. If someone creates a deepfake of you, you must immediately pursue right of publicity and IP disputes. Time is of the essence.
But here's the thing. Just relying on national copyright frameworks, it's not enough. Institutions must enforce internal policies too. In that Mozambique study we looked at, ISFIC had to apply specific national laws right alongside their own internal academic codes of conduct to manage digital plagiarism cases. It really proves that whether you are a university in Maputo or a massive multinational corporation, you must have explicitly defined internal policies and actively use anti-plagiarism software to ensure people actually respect intellectual property. Without local enforcement, global laws mean very, very little.
Which brings us to our final point, Section 5, regulating the AI frontier and the global response.
When we zoom out and look at global frameworks, you really see two distinct approaches emerging. The European Union's AI Act takes a super hardline, risk-based approach, requiring strict transparency for training datasets, backed by massive financial penalties. We're talking fines up to 7% of global annual turnover for noncompliance. That is a massive stick. On the other hand, the UNESCO recommendation offers more of the carrot, focusing heavily on global moral standards, human dignity, fairness, and fundamental freedoms. But together, they represent a unified, desperate push to rein in the Wild West of artificial generation.
And it's not just policy. Organizations like GSDA are proposing some incredible technological solutions to this ethical nightmare. They're actually proposing we establish a legal duty for AI developers to create algorithms that can actively trace their scientific sources. Imagine that, an AI that is forced to show its work and properly credit the original human authors. They even suggest utilizing blockchain technologies as a tamper-proof record of ownership for digital assets. Because this isn't just about fighting over copyright dollars. It's about preserving the fundamental moral rights of creators so they are recognized for their actual human ingenuity.
I want to end this explainer with a final, kind of provocative thought for you all to ponder. We've talked a lot about deepfakes, copyright lawsuits, and the heavy ethics of digital kidnapping today. But as machines become capable of generating absolutely everything from our voices and faces to our art and research, what is the irreplaceable true value of human originality? If an AI can perfectly mimic you, what makes your human expression vital? I'll leave you to think about that one. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep asking the hard questions.